He's out on the highway, but he's talking to us, our congressman. I decided, Congressman, this is going to be your theme because you were born to be our congressman, and we're delighted to have you on the Ross Report. This is going to be your theme song from here on out. Welcome back. Thank you so much for making time.
That's some Harley Davidson music there.
Oh, you bet. Anyway, so I don't know where to start. Budget, border, Biden, family, family, what?
Take your pick. Whatever you ask me, you're going to receive unscripted and honest answers.
All right. So I keep getting notifications. Texas has filed suit against Biden. Florida has filed suit, and a federal judge has come out and stopped the implementation of Title 42. Where the heck do we really stand on the border?
We have no more sovereign border. What you have down there now is the frantic attempt by the Biden administration and Mayorkas to manage the collapse of our sovereignty at the southern border. It's more of a theater of engagement now. We've lost American territory. There's no entrance process. People are not being even processed in. Our complaints for the last 2 years is that the Biden administration has essentially invited and facilitated the illegal crossing of 6 million men and women over the last 2 years. But those are ones that were processed in for like asylum and then transported all over the country wherever they wanted to go at taxpayers' expense. That's the complaints that we've been having. But it's so bad now that there was, my reports were on Tuesday of this week from my sources on the border that they had 700,000 illegals amassed in the densities of population in Mexico, just south of the border, across from the Gulf to the Pacific. We estimated 700,000 illegals stacked up from all over the world. They're from all over the world, and they were ready to cross on Thursday. But there was so much pressure. All the hotels were booked. You could not get a hotel on the Mexican side of the border for the entire border. And you had 30, 40 people in a room, and every park down there had, every green area there was tents. The medians in the highways, there was tents. So we added it up conservatively across the border. It took a couple of days, but by Tuesday, I had a solid number that there was 700,000. And they were ready to cross. There was so much pressure on them because the pipeline behind them, the cartel has full. So there's no going backwards. They were miserable, they were ready to cross, and they just started coming on Wednesday. So that's why you started seeing what you started seeing on TV on Wednesday. They were like, "The hell with it, we're going in," and we don't have the capacity to stop that mass of humanity. You have to stop it before it gets there. You can't allow such a situation to manifest, and that's exactly what the Biden administration did. So now you have literally, 10, 20,000 a day crossing over. You're talking about a handful of border agents. When you get down to reality, you got 10 or 15 border agents in half a dozen vehicles and dealing with thousands of illegal crossers. They're just rolling right over them. And
Congressman,
it's a misery of humanity down there. The Texas families that have been there for generations are just watching their property just overrun by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds in one day. I'm not talking about a guy crossed through my yard last night, or I saw 12 of them crossing last week. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds a day coming through your private property if you live in Texas. So my number of 700,000 that I had earlier this week, now we believe that was not accurate.
Yeah.
We think there was 1 million.
Oh.
So you're talking about 1 million illegals crossing into our country within the next 5 or 6 weeks. Talking about 100,000 a week crossing. It's
5 times the people in Lafayette Parish, roughly. I have 750,000. That's a good example. My entire district, a congressional district in the country, is 750,000 people, roughly. So I have 750,000 constituents. It's like my whole constituency across 10 parishes is crossing into our country in the next. The entire population of Southwest Louisiana is crossing into our country in the next month. Congressman.
And there's more coming behind them. So now they're frantically trying to put up Trump's. They're using the Trump era material for walls, trying to throw up walls. Mayorkas' people saying, "Man, if only we had a wall or a big fence, that would help us." Yeah, of course. Thank you for waking up. There's too little, too late.
What's worrisome, though, is
we're dealing with a crisis we've never witnessed before.
What's really worrisome, though, Congressman, is you know it and you've seen it. I mean, just listen to a little bit of this. I don't know if you've seen this online, but this is gunfire at the far International Bridge. It went on and on and on. They know that the report came from Mexican media and that they're fighting, and they say civilians. Well, that tells me cartel fighting with the Mexican army at this big crossing. And the cartels are
fighting. Listen, they're bringing death and disease and crime and drugs with them. And it's 100% that I'm sorry, my Democrat fellow citizens across the country, but I'm sorry, but your party owns this thing.
Yeah, you bet.
What's happening to our country right now is like generational injury. We will look at this era and say, what was America like before Biden and Mayorkas, and what was it like after? You're talking about massive tent cities of homeless human misery.
And
They're bringing poverty with them, and drugs, and crime, and diseases that we've had controlled and out of this country for 100 years.
Yeah, I read
it's coming. It's coming because these people are coming from all over the world, Ms. Carol. 170 nations. We've documented at the border of illegal crossings in the last 2 years.
Now,
so they're not just coming from Mexico and Honduras and Nicaragua and Guatemala and Panama and Colombia. They're coming from all over the world, 170 nations. You're going to have disease in this country that we haven't had in 100 years.
Yeah, I've read some reports from some emergency room nurses talking about that. You helped to pass H.R. 2, the Secure the Border Act of 2023, as a practical matter. If you take over if the Republicans take over the Senate and the White House, is there any way to deport these people who are here, let's say within a certain period of time, deport them? They came here illegally. Can you deport them? Does our country have the right to decide that it will be secure, that it will have legal immigration and deport the people who are here illegally? Not the DACA. Yeah, I know, the Dreamers and all that kind of stuff. Okay, they've been here for 20 years. That's one thing. The ones that have come here within the past 2 years.
Okay, let me try to give you as fast an answer as I can.
Yeah, because I know it's complicated.
There's really two answers. One, if we had control, like if Trump was in the White House and I was standing next to him, I'm telling you, we would have control of the border in 2 weeks. You wouldn't have. I'd shut this thing down, and Trump and I have talked about it extensively with his people. There's policies that with existing law and existing capabilities to put in place, you can stop illegal crossings in 2 weeks. So you have to stop the bleeding first.
Right. Agree.
And we can do that. We can do that very quickly if you have the right guy in the White House and you have Republicans like me in charge of the House and the Senate. So that's one thing. America should feel confident that if we ever decide to enforce the laws that we have with men that are willing to do what it takes to enforce that law, we can stop this illegal crossing. We can shut down and have control of our border, I'm telling you, within 2 weeks.
Well, that's good to know.
Now, what do you do with the
ones
by
that
the
are
time
here?
we get the White House, at the rate things are going, they'll have brought in 20 million more illegals. We already had about 35 million illegals. So you're talking about roughly 50 million illegal people in our country. You only have 325 million Americans anyway. You're talking about 2 out of 10 people will be illegal.
Yeah, it's about 20% of the population. Jeez.
So the question of whether or not you can deport them it becomes a matter of practicality. We don't have that much like law enforcement capability. Mm-hmm. However, we do have a plan that I'm not able to go into, but we do have a plan that would cause these people to deport themselves.
Now that's interesting. And by the way, we already have immigration laws. Why isn't anybody enforcing those immigration laws that are already on the books? And look,
because they
are
Biden and Mayorkas, and they don't want to. Now, this thing has gotten out of control, but you cannot unring the bell that they rang 2 years ago. Yeah. And they're having to deal with it now, and they're panicking because they know that America's looking at this. Even Democrats are saying, what the hell have you all done?
Yeah. Crazy.
And but they can't unring that bell. They know they own it, and they've done the damage. They're panicking to try and put Band-Aids on this arterial bleed. But ultimately, let me just say that we can control the border if we decide to enforce our laws. You have to have people. You have to have Americans in charge that want to enforce our laws, and then have a plan to do so. That's men like Donald Trump and Clay Higgins and Jim Jordan and Scott Perry and Andy Biggs and Mike Lee and Ted Cruz and Ron Johnson. We got plenty of people.
All right,
that are capable and willing to secure our border. Now, the plan to deport the illegals that are in the country, and again, a year and a half from now, you'd be talking about 50 million people.
Oh, please! I don't even want to think about that.
It's impossible, but we do have a plan that many of those people, far more than we could deport by force, by like hunting them down and arresting them and then putting them on a plane and deporting them. We do have a plan. That's something that I started working on about 6 years ago. We have a plan that would cause the illegals that are not behaving, people that are on the bad side of society, that we're going to make it so uncomfortable for them that they'll deport themselves.
Yeah, but we keep deporting people, and they keep coming back and killing people. Yeah,
you control the border. You control the border. You stop that. These people are coming across, 4, 5, 20 times.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I'm telling you, 15, 20 times.
Can we get to I know you're on a time crunch.
They're coming back.
But I want to. There are two more things: the budget and the Biden crime family. So the budget. What are the chances that they will get to the table and negotiate?
Oh, they're doing that now. When we passed,
the staff is.
When the House passed our budget bill 2 weeks ago, Ms. Carroll, that changed the paradigm
Yeah.
of budget negotiations in D.C. Nobody thought we could pass that bill, but we did.
Mm-hmm.
And I give credit where it's due. That's the Freedom Caucus, my people, and Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy, to his credit, came to the Freedom Caucus and said, what will it take for you guys to be on board? He knew if he could win us over, the rest of the conference would fall in line.
Yep.
And to his credit, he battled to get our budget passed. So what we ended up with, the budget that we passed about 2 weeks ago, was 90% of it was Freedom Caucus language. And nobody in Washington, D.C. thought we could do that. But we did. So the pressure on the Senate became something they never anticipated. And right away, you had, led by Mike Lee, who's one of the only senators that comes to attend our Freedom Caucus meetings.
Really? He does?
Because they don't have a Freedom Caucus in the Senate. So Mike Lee, Ted Cruz, Ron Johnson, those guys come to our
That's awesome.
Freedom Caucus meetings every now and then. So Mike Lee led a letter that ended up with 43 signatures. I sent it to you a few days ago.
Yes, I got it. You know what?
So
our Senator
that's
Cassidy.
strong. You understand? So all of a sudden you have 43 senators. Now it's 44 because I think a couple of others have joined. We don't need to name them.
Well, I will. Kennedy wasn't on there at first. I think he got enough pressure that he saw the light and he got on there because he sent a letter to someone in our group. You know it.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Boy, you're something, Miss Carol. You just jumped into the man's name. All right.
Well, of course. You can't say it, but I can. That's my job.
So anyway, we think about the significance of 44 senators, Republican senators, signing a letter saying that they support the Republican budget that came out of the House. This is the budget they never thought we could pass. So when I say that it has changed the paradigm of the way budgets are negotiated in D.C., that's really a significant statement and is completely true. Because we only have to get to once you're at 43, 44, you pass
that's right.
40, then they can't get past cloture to bring their own bill to the floor. They can't just steamroll Republicans in the Senate and give Biden whatever he wants and then put Republicans in the House, led by Kevin McCarthy, in a real difficult position to have to sign some super liberal budget in order to not shut down the government, in which case he would lose a lot of Republicans. The whole Freedom Caucus would step away from that, and then he'd have to get Democrats to sign it. You understand?
Yes, indeed.
So that's the kind of nastiness that we have forced into the background by passing the conservative Republican Freedom Caucus-led budget from 2 weeks ago and put it to the Senate. And now you got pretty much all the Republican senators are saying, we support this budget.
Yeah.
So the negotiations are real and they're ongoing. And what we're going to end up with is a budget, not what we sent to them. It won't be that good, but it will be way better than the kind of thing that D.C. does normally, where they just steamroll over the conservatives. So to answer your question, I think there's a high probability that we negotiate a budget. I reserve the right to vote no because I haven't seen the final product yet, but I'm prayerful that because we started the negotiations with the bill that we passed from such a strong conservative position, and that becomes sort of the fulcrum from which leverage is presented for negotiations. I'm prayerful that the budget that ultimately is brought back to the House from the Senate, that's the one that's being negotiated right now between the Senate, the House, and the White House. I'm prayerful that that budget will be conservative enough where myself and the most conservative members of Congress and the House will be able to support the bill. Because I don't want to vote no. I want to stay on yes. but the bill's going to have to be very conservative.
Yeah.
I'm a realist. I'm a practical man. I accept the fact that we are negotiating. I appreciate the fact that that the most conservative of us have set up that negotiation to where we have a chance to
actually
have
do something. Yeah.
a favorable product if you look at it in the prism of conservative versus liberal. And I'm prayerful that it's a conservative enough budget that we can we can maintain the significant fiscal reform, meaningful spending reductions.
What's worrisome, though, Congressman, is quite often things have come out of the White House and you thought you had a deal, and then those Marxist minions in the background, they decide they don't want it, and they throw a wrench into the whole thing. That's the problem. And Biden is not hitting on all cylinders. So we don't. That
does happen, but we are hitting on all cylinders in a Republican-controlled House right now. We passed this budget 2 weeks ago. They didn't think we could do it.
I know.
All the geniuses and experts in D.C. and I hate those guys. But all the geniuses and experts said we could not do it, but we did do it.
All right.
And then yesterday we passed the budget bill. That's the border security bill. My bill.
Yes, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Well, not that, but
that was a huge win. They said we could not do it.
It was,
but we
great.
did.
All right. Now, on the Biden crime family, because you issued a very detailed statement about the Biden crime family, because you've been on the oversight committee. You have seen, these special activity. You have seen all of the dirt. And the latest thing is now Grassley and Comer, they can't get from the FBI the FD 123 or 1023 or something like that actually has the information from the whistleblower, the documented information, and the FBI is stonewalling on this. How far can you get that information?
We're gonna get it. I'm telling you, without getting into the weeds, there's a process to request that stuff that gets more aggressive. Like most things in life fall into that sort of category, don't they? You start off. You got to check the boxes and go through the process and be nice, and then you have to get more aggressive and more aggressive until you accomplish your ultimate goal. If your goal is legal and righteous, and I'm telling you, our goal to get this data that we believe exists, because the whistleblower I can't identify, but has very high credibility, and some things that he shared that plugged into what our investigation had revealed let us know that this guy was for real. Mm-hmm. And so we have a very high confidence that the documents, it's really documentation of an investigation that the FBI conducted.
Well, it would be hard for them to discredit you.
It's the Biden family. It's corroborative evidence of what we're accessing from the bank records. But let me tell you that we're going to get that data from the FBI, whether they like it or not. But we don't need it because we have the bank records that we continue to go through, the suspicious activity reports, which are horrible. They're horrible. You and I talked about it. Maybe 2 months ago, I started telling you about these strategic suspicious activity reports, and that was last year. And time goes by. Yeah, but
we're having so much fun.
Those bank records are gold for an investigator because they're so pure. Bank records are not Republican bank records or Democrat bank records. They're just bank records, man. So they're quite unimpeachable. And they're totally unbiased. So very rarely will bank records be challenged in court as saying that that's not real, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, what was the product?
When you're looking into influence peddling and corruption at this level, you're talking about $30 million so far, and we're really. It's a slow process going through these things. It's thousands of pages, and they're greatly restricting our access. We don't have these records. You have to go into the Treasury Department on a prescribed day for prescribed hours with so many people. You can't bring your phone in or your laptop or cameras, anything. You can only take notes. So, and only so many people can be in the room. So it's very controlled, the access that we have to these suspicious activity reports. Why is it restricted? Because Biden is doing everything he can to stop us, and he runs the Treasury Department. So it's a slow process, but we're going through it. And what we've discovered so far is that there was like $30 million, I'm using round numbers, $30 million from China that were funneled through Biden associates that had businesses that move money. And the Biden set up many, call it 20 shell companies, LLCs that had no product, no service, no brick and mortar, no office. They just existed on paper. And they set up, say, 20 shell companies. And this associate of Biden, longtime family friend that moved money, received $30 million from China. All companies connected with the Chinese Communist Party, because that's the way things work in China. And that guy keeps 2/3 of the money. That's why you hear us talking about $10 million.
Yeah.
His fee for moving this money into these 20 shell companies, and then from there they flowed to multiple bank accounts that the Bidens had set up to where they could filter it. So much money at a time over regular payments, incremental payments, until all the money, the $10 million that was left out of the 30, ultimately ends up in Biden family bank accounts. What I just described, that's money laundering. That's corruption. The guy that was doing it for the Bidens kept 2/3 of the money. Now think about that. How illegal and dangerous was something that somebody gets to keep 2/3 of the money in order to deliver you your cut? So that's why you're talking about $10 million and not 30. But really, it's $30 million of communist Chinese money delivered into this Biden machine that they created in order to get that money ultimately into their bank accounts.
Congressman, there's one thing
it's very ugly.
It really is ugly, and
I'm telling you, I don't know how he survives it.
Well, he survives it if the media doesn't cover the story, which they're still ignoring, the mainstream media. But I want to throw out something, and I don't know if this name has come up in your private deliberations or whatever, because I've never heard it publicly. But there's one man who unleashed Biden. He unleashed him to China. He sent him to Ukraine, Kazakhstan, wherever he could do his dirty. Obama. He's the one who unleashed him, and I never hear that name mentioned. He was the president. The buck stops with him, or I guess it stopped with Biden. I don't know. Did he get a kickback too? But he's the one who put Biden in charge of all that.
Obama was a different guy.
Yeah, and he is, but he unleashed Biden.
He was like created in a laboratory experiment to be the... All right.
Look, because I remember
drastic change brought upon our nation, and he didn't need that little money.
No,
is my point.
But he was
Obama
warned.
has such a huge slice of the
grift
of the elitist pie.
Yeah,
he didn't need the little. I mean, Biden is a 50-year career politician, old white guy. He's not even in the same league
as Obama. You're right.
So I think Obama probably suspected, I would imagine you couldn't be that close without knowing that his vice president was doing this stuff. But
because I read one story,
I would be surprised. Let me say, I don't see any indication of Obama receiving any kind of money.
No, I don't think so. But he was warned by his own ambassador. Wasn't it Marie Yovanovitch? She was the ambassador to Ukraine, and she came back and she said, "This looks bad for us. This is really going to be bad." And they did it anyway. And Biden even bragged about it at that Council on Foreign Relations. My God, that should be Exhibit A. In the whole,
and you notice we're not even the oversight committee in our investigation, what we're revealing and giving to the public. And I ask your listeners, please go to my Facebook page and find that article, because it's very extensive.
All right.
And there's links. I have 3 links in there that give you a lot of data. Everything I can legally, publicly reveal is in that article. So I encourage your readers to go find it on my Facebook page and print that stuff out and look at it. But you notice we're not talking about Ukraine, right?
No.
Let me just tell you 2
why
words. We will. We will.
All right. And then
Okay.
I've kept you longer than you even said you had time to do. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Is there anything we didn't cover that you really want to get out to the folks today?
Oh, happy Mother's Day.
And the
I
sweet
am so
Becca.
blessed. I got Becca and Becca's mom over here. You know, Becca's mom lives with us. And we're just a happy family, and I'm looking forward to cooking for these ladies this weekend. I just got home.
All right, what you going to cook? Okay, give us the clue. What you going to cook?
I'm a good cook. Like I got different colored plates and stuff for what I'm serving. I get into it,
Wow.
man. But I generally would cook a excellent beef, and then I like to cook like casserole type stuff that I create. And
I am so impressed. I had no idea.
I'm gonna make sure the mothers in my life are well fed and spoiled this weekend. So happy Mother's Day to everybody, including you, young lady.
Thank you so much. I love when he says that, young lady. Thank you so much, Congressman Clay Higgins. I am telling you, you are a blessing to South Louisiana. We appreciate you're a blessing to the world. I'm so glad that you're there doing the due diligence and not taking the credit you should take. But I appreciate you spending some time with us on a Friday afternoon. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Miss Carol. God bless you. Happy Mother's Day, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yes, ma'am.